as artists, it can be so challenging to figure out who we really are in our craft and how much of our personal selves to share with the world. We're going to dive into how to be yourself and, oh, Susanna, and other music with racist roots being removed from Cedar Rapids schools. Stick around. This is an important discussion. Hello and welcome to Music Industry City's Monday Kickoff, where we offer up important tips for a successful career and get you motivated for the week ahead. I'm Peter Schwing. Joining me today is my fellow co-host Aisha Damo and the Duke. If there's something you'd like to chime in about, join us in the chat or leave a comment below. And also, we do a little after show here. So if you're tuning in, what we do is we wrap up the segment, roll the credits, and then magically reappear. So if you're in the chats, you're in the comments, you can join us in. You have some questions, you can get them answered by our esteemed guests. Probably not me, because they're much smarter than me. So anyway, let's get right to it. Let's check in with Dave and Aisha. How are you? Hey, good to see you.
Good. How are you doing? Yeah.
I almost forgot how to do this video thing since we took a week off.
For
Clicking
you
buttons,
though.
man.
I'm like,
So
wait,
many
what?
buttons.
I know, so many buttons. And because we've been doing a lot on Clubhouse. So for anybody tuning in, Clubhouse is Music Industry City on Clubhouse. We have 11 shows. We do Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. We do a show. It's just Good Day Music World, What's on Your Mind. And then the news hour, the news power hour at 12 p.m. noon. So it's a lot of great people joining in those conversations. A lot of valuable information. So, but how have you been? I mean, it's been 2 weeks since the last seen you. Dave, what have you been up to?
I'm making a lot of fashion. I was in New York for like a month and a half, so I was making a lot of clothing, a lot of fashion. What else was I doing? Music. What else was I doing? I've been producing a jazz show, which has been rad. I'm not sure what else I've been doing because I've been doing so much that I probably forgot stuff that I was doing. I've made some art pieces. You know what I mean? Just doing my thing, man.
I hear you. How about you, Ayesha?
I've been working on some new music and also some meditative related stuff to go with my new supernal yoga spiritual brand. And also, it was St. Patrick's Day. I did some cooking. I made some corned beef and cabbage and soda bread, which was amazing. Actually, I think I was in our clubhouse while I was making it, which was sort of crazy. And what else? Oh, yeah, I worked on a very cool commercial with my side hustle, hand modeling stuff. And it was a really fun cheese pull when you have a really cheesy sandwich in a commercial and you pull it apart and the cheese just spreads across the screen in this most delicious way. I did that.
Oh, that sounds like I want to have, I need to have some cheese now. So thank
Exactly.
you for that. Yeah, so awesome. And so yeah, we have a lot to talk about. So let's just kick over. Let's start off with you, Aisha. Let's see what's going on with you. All right. Hey. All right. So
Hey.
hey, good to see you on this side over here. Yeah, you talk about like, artists, it can be so challenging to figure out who we really are and like, the craft and like, also it's like a lot of it they say, show your personal side, let your audience know who you are. And but it's like how much do you want to show? And that's the kind of stuff that, it's like where's the line get drawn? And how to be yourself while still projecting that, performer style vibe and everything. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, oh, I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Right.
It is sort of a dichotomy what you're mentioning because again, people are saying, "Oh, show your true self, just be yourself." And also, yourself better be exactly this or you're going to be canceled. So, it's a bit of a situation for a lot of artists. And we're living in a world right now where even people who haven't chosen to be artists or public figures are in this lens of scrutiny because we're on the internet and because of social media. And for artists, I think that scrutiny is even more magnified because of the nature of what we do. It demands that we really infuse some of ourselves into our art and into our online presence. So we have to share this kind of truth of ourselves, and our fans want to know about it. But again, you have to be careful what you share sometimes, because even inadvertently, some of that can rub people the wrong way. Well, lately, I think that it can get really tricky when the truth of who we are, or at least whatever we think that is, butts heads with the ever more prescriptive nature of the narrative that we're supposed to fit into of what we can say and what we can't say. And in addressing this situation, I think it's incredibly important to look inward and ask ourselves how much of what we have to say about the world socially is really tied to us as individuals, and how much of it is really tied to our life's purpose and our life's work to express this out in the world. Um, you know, is the response that we have to these social issues actually a part of our deepest message? Or are we being swept up into something that isn't who we truly are? I think this is always the first and essential question that we need to ask ourselves, because this knowledge comes from growing deeper in the knowledge of yourself. So, know thyself, right? And when I say that, I do mean self with a capital S. This is also the spiritual work. This is where it's valuable to actually take the time to sit and meditate, to sit and daydream, to sit and write in a notebook what all this means to you. Who is at the core of what you really are? Go back to those childhood memories. What was essential then and what sticks with you now? Going into all of that and seeing how that sits with the different movements that we might encounter in the world at this time. And for anyone who's out there thinking that daydreaming is too much artist and not enough business, just know that this kind of understanding is also at the core of your brand and what you're offering to the world. Because as a creative, your brand comes from this fountain that is you. You're going to want to spend time knowing it really deeply and knowing when and how it shifts, because nothing is static, especially lately. And once you know these things about your true self, the question then becomes, how much or how little of this do you want to express in your work and in your online presence? Knowing your true being and purpose, knowing your own message as an artist, and knowing the audience that you attract, even if that audience is very small right now, which messages and ideas are essential to express in the world? Is the message in consideration a cross that you're willing to die on? Because, lately, sometimes you just might. A lot of the time, messages that are really powerful to us were already with us in childhood in one form or another. So, thinking back to those early moments, like, where can you trace back to the core of what that came from? What was the seed? And if you find that a message is, that powerful to you, is it one that needs to be expressed directly, or rather would it benefit from a more subversive approach? What form of expression does this message need to take? And what form of expression do you use as an artist? Is it in your lyrics? Is it in your tweets? Is it in both? Is your belief in this message strong enough that it can weather a backlash? If the message is something that you would actually and actively double down on, or is it something that you would mea culpa about? Like, that also speaks to how you really feel about it. Of course, bearing in mind that not all personalities are really suited to this kind of direct approach. Some people want to keep things in reserve, and that's part of your brand expression as well. This is all about knowing yourself and the style of expression that you have as an artist, and that is a great investment in your creative future. So I hope some of this is really helpful to you and you're continuing to push forward as a creative and an artist. Getting to know your truest self even deeper only benefits you and your life and your artistry. And remember, if you've gone deep with yourself and you've gotten clear about who you really are, you can only win with that. That can only go the right way for you because it's yours. You know what it is, you know that it's real, and that's what really matters. So that's what I've got.
Right on, right on. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many things there. It's to unpack, and it's a challenge because when you see artists, like if they're on stage, if they're putting on a show, they're like, I'm here to perform, I'm here to entertain, and my show is about that. And it's not about me sharing my deepest vulnerabilities and all that. But then you have, when they do say all of a sudden, like, hey, we'll do an acoustic set. I'm going to tell you the story behind the song and how this came from a place of pain or relationship or inspiration. And then you have the live streamers, say like on Twitch, that it's a lot of those live streamers are all about just sharing everything because they're communicating directly with their fans, and that's how they create that engagement, and that's what they want to talk about. So now does that, so then if like you're a Twitch streamer and you built the audience, especially in this time with the pandemic and quarantine, it's like if you go out on a live stage to do a performance, is that going to translate as well if you try to be yourself in that sense? You can be it's like being yourself isn't like the same thing in every platform. It's just being how you are on different platforms or stages.
Exactly. You're bringing up such an important thing, Peter. It's, when you know yourself and know how you express that self, then you can have an easier time translating that to all the different stages and avenues where that might appear because it isn't the same. It isn't the same in an arena as it is in a tweet. It isn't the same on Instagram as it is on Twitch. Those things are all different expressions, and you need to also see which of those avenues resonates with you and your art. Not all of them might be your thing, and that's okay, you know?
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Let's talk about this a little bit more. I want to cut over to Dave, and then we're going to come back and chat, all three of us. So, all right. Thank you for that, Ayesha. Let me head over to Dave. So, what's recently in the news has been a lot going on. Music with racist roots are being removed from a Cedar Rapids school. In the article, it says that lyrics should be free of racist or biased language, and if the original lyrics of a song are racist, it should not be used. Music teachers should ask themselves, what was the original purpose of this song? And this is from Beth Davies, Cedar Rapids School K through 12 music content lead. Here to talk more about this and his thoughts on this, Dave the Duke. Dave, what's up?
Yo, yo, yo.
So this is a really interesting article, and how we've seen there's cancel culture of there's people, there's cancel culture of art, there's cancel culture of music, there's cancel culture of lyrics, there's cancel culture, but when is it valid? That's my kind of thought, is like, when is it valid for it to say like, no, we really need to make this go away? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's very sensitive topic. I mean, it can't. I'm not for cancel culture. I'm against cancel culture. I think that's not empathetic. There's no compassion in cancel culture. There's no understanding for the humanness of people. That people change and that people make mistakes. I think that taking things that are old and canceling them is again silly. And I think about rockabye baby on the treetop. When the bough breaks, the baby will drop. When the wind blows, the baby will fall. Down will come baby, baby and all, whatever that is. It's like, man, there's a baby falling from the top of the tree. Like, are we still singing this song? Like, you will never do that to my child. Like, that's insane. Like, to let a baby drop from the top of a tree, like, that's so dangerous. But it's like, it's just a song, man. It's cool. I cut a lot of school. I cut a lot of school. I dropped out of school after ninth grade. And a lot of the time I watched I Love Lucy. And I loved watching I Love Lucy. I loved cutting school and watching I Love Lucy. But I Love Lucy was a show basically about how this immigrant guy talked weird and how his wife was constantly making fun of his accent. That's like, yo, cancel I Love Lucy, right? That's not right. You can't make fun of people's accents. That's not cool. And then the other aspect is like, they're constantly smoking cigarettes. People back in the days, they thought that was cool to smoke cigarettes. And then they all died of cancer. So it's like, my kid is going to watch I Love Lucy and she's going to watch, Lucille Ball smoke cigarettes. And I'm going to have to tell her, like, nah, that ain't cool. But that's my job to tell her that. You know what I mean? So I don't think that you cancel Rockabye Baby. I don't think that you cancel I Love Lucy. I don't think that you cancel songs because things were different back then. Things were different. Like, even if you look at, all right, let's just take it. Let's be silly for a second. It's good. Let's bring a little comedy into this. Look at hip hop videos from the early 90s. Those guys' pants are way too big for them, right? You shouldn't have pants that big. You might trip. You know what I mean? And if you trip, you might hurt yourself. Now we have skinny jeans. So maybe in another 30 years, we'll look back and say, man, that might cut off your circulation. You might have to get your legs amputated because the jeans were just too skinny. And, So there's so many things that you could look at and just go like, man, cancel this, cancel that. Cancel Ronald Reagan. How about that? Let's go back. I know you guys, maybe you have seen it or not. Go watch Crack on Netflix. Tell me we're not canceling Ronald Reagan after watching that documentary. Ronald Reagan brought in the drugs to our country and gave it to the inner city and destroyed homes. A whole generation, he destroyed it, went on TV, lied to the face of America, said, just say no. That's what his wife said. Just say no. It's the war on drugs. Bro, you are bringing in the drugs. That is facts. But we're not canceling Ronald Reagan. How come we're not canceling Ronald Reagan, right? It's too much energy behind Ronald Reagan. He stands for something. It's too big, right? But we can cancel songs and we can cancel people if they don't have power behind them. Bill Clinton, man, that guy's going to get canceled soon enough. I mean, the guy is just like, you've seen the Epstein thing that just came out. The judge said that he can't even show the things. He can't even tell the things that are in the thing. It's too shocking for our society. But our society can go and cancel songs, right? It can cancel things that were fine back in the days, but now it's not cool. Pedophilia was never cool, ever. Corey Feldman came out with a whole documentary talking about Charlie Sheen raped Corey Haim. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. I wasn't there. But do we cancel Charlie Sheen? You know, like there's a lot of things you got to look at and go like, what is the basis of this cancel culture? Is it only things that don't have power? Can you cancel things with power, or is it only powerless things get canceled? And that really takes you down to like our society of people with money. They never go to jail. They never really do time. Even when Epstein was in jail, man, he was still getting out. How was this guy getting out, going out and still doing his thing? Like you've seen the documentary, it's a head scratcher. You just go like, whoa, like that's crazy. So we're talking about songs. Dr. Seuss, have you read the places you'll go? That book changed my life, man. I love reading that book to my child. Oh, the places you'll go. Like that's how could we live in a world without Dr. Seuss? You want to cancel Mr. Potato Head? Like let's pull it back, man. Let's pull it back. You're talking about a toy that you put eyes on. You want to cancel a toy? You want to cancel a guy that wrote books? The next thing you know, they're going to cancel Mr. Rogers. Why are you going to cancel Mr. Rogers? Oh, we don't do zippers anymore. We don't put our shoes on in front of people. That's nasty. Oh my God, we can't have Mr. Rogers anymore. Bob Ross is next. Oh, you know, there's a lot of chemicals in those paints. And Bob Ross died young, and it could have been because of those chemicals. You just slap the brush, do. Yo, that varnish has a lot of chemicals in it. Trust me, I work in the arts. I know there's a lot of chemicals in that stuff. Do we cancel varnish? You know what I mean? Really got to think about these things and go like, what's really good? So I think, you know, it's fun to bring in some comedy into it, but you also got to look at it and go like, how can you cancel history? You know what I mean? And if you cancel history, who's going to protect us from repeating it again? When you canceled it and we never learned from it, we never got to see it. So it's just a couple, you know, couple things I threw at you guys. I Love Lucy, Bob Ross, Crack is Rack, Ronald Reagan, Rockabye Baby. Put it together, man. It's a puzzle piece. You got to make your own choices. I'm not the school system. I'm actually against the school system. Not the school system as far as the people, but the way that it teaches people. Because you got people coming out of the school system and they're just dumb as fuck. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. They don't understand the simplest thing, that life is about service. And that's all it is. You should intern. You should be interning as a freshman in high school. By the time you get out of high school, you should know what you want to do with your life. You should be in a path in the real world to understand how you fit in. But our society doesn't do that. It tries to suck your money. It says you need to go to college. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? It's a lot of bullshit in our society. There's a lot of contradictions. And we got to call it for what it is. Rockabye Baby on a treetop. When the bough breaks, the baby will rock. When the bow, I don't even know the lyrics. When the bow breaks, the baby will fall. Down will come baby, cradle and all. Cancel that, because not my child. That's a no-go. End scene. Done.
Boom. Dave, yeah. Give you a week off and you come back fighting. I love it. Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, you know, so wow, there's a lot to unpack here, so maybe we should burn the whole suitcase. So yeah, nursery rhymes, you know, those were supposed to be original. Like bringing this all in. I mean, you know, Archie Bunker. Do we cancel Archie Bunker? The ice cream truck. You know, the jingle was based on a very racist, you know, Turkey in the Straw, and before that, the Confederate flag, Huckleberry Finn, like Mark Twain books. Yeah, you know, nursery rhymes were originally like to scare children in a sense. They weren't like happy things, stories. Let's go to another song, Baby It's Cold Outside, which is getting canceled. But little do people know that in the movie, he sings Baby It's Cold Outside, and then later she sings it to him. So it's a play back and forth, and then, about Reagan is like create the problem and appear to be the savior of the solution. So there is a lot to unpack. I want to bring Aisha back into this, and let's see where we go. Hey,
Hey.
welcome back. I mean, you had some amazing stuff, and then Dave is like, we're back on fire, and there's a lot of people here over in Trovo. It's like, yeah, there's like, a lot of great comments going on. So good discussion going on. Thank you. Hi, just saying hi to everybody out there in the live streaming lands.
Yay.
Hey, somebody just said the only comics I could handle are Archie, so it's a different Archie. But I'm gonna let you. You want anything? Any thoughts?
Well, first of all, I love your very goth rewrite of the lullaby. The baby will rot. The baby will rot. This is an amazing rewrite, Dave. I think there's something amazing there, and yeah, I'm loving that. No, but seriously, I'm 100% with you on this, and there are things. I think a lot of this is a distraction from the things that we really should be addressing. We really should be focusing on certain things that are very toxic in our society, but there are also things that are going on right now that are toxic, and to focus on things of the past and canceling them in this way. Number one, I love what you said early on about, it's yours to teach your daughter, what's wrong with that. And there are teaching moments with these things that you miss if you just, kind of hide them away in the closet like they never happened. So I think that's really an important thing. And yeah, I don't know, that's how I feel about it.
Dave, somebody just also kind of agrees. It's like somebody just in the chat here said, I have been saying this for years. I think is so sad that kids graduate from high school now and have no idea what they are good at or want to do in life. And here's something that's different in America than in Europe is in the UK, they have for school students, they have placements for jobs. So you can do these smaller internships, not like a college internship where there's more expected, but they introduce you into the workforce world. And that is in a high school level as opposed to waiting for college. And I remember that from working over in the UK for a little bit.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I don't know. For me personally, I still don't know how I fit into the world, so I'm still searching. But I know for other people out there, they're, having these kinds of opportunities early on to integrate with that would be really great because you can find something that works for you, and that's what you want to do, and make your life about the thing that you have a spark for.
Dave, anything else you want to jump in on anything else there? I mean, this is, it's an important discussion. And you look at like, some people say, well, hey, it's, you're going to hear the opposite side of saying that's like, well, if it has racism in the history, it should be taken out. And, we're going back 100 years and more for some of these pieces of music. And it's like, if the words have changed and the theme has changed, so this is like that thought piece is like, if the lyrics have changed over time, does that negate what the backstory is, and should that be taken out or like use the context or use it as a learning experience, to teach that about, hey, this was what this era was, and we've grown from there, and we don't speak like this, and this is something we can use as a learning tool.
Yeah, I mean, I love Archie Bunker. I mean, I can't show you, but I have Joey Stivic, the Archie Bunker, his kid, his grandchild. I have the doll. That's how much I
Mhm.
love All in the Family. I have the card set. Like, I love All in the Family, but that's got to be the first thing to be canceled, right? Because it's like every episode, this guy's dropping words that you're just like, oh my god. And then when you're going to cancel that, now you have to go cancel the Jeffersons, right? Because that's just the same guy, just in a different, aspect. And I just can't imagine a world without Archie Bunker, because the whole thing about Archie Bunker was that not he was not a racist. He was just not informed. And that's a big difference between being a racist and not being hugged enough. That's what we really need to look at and say, like, yo, you need to get hugged. Like, when's the last time somebody hugged you and just said, shh, no, shh, quiet. We're all one. Like, let's love each other. And I think that's a very dark thing about society. It's the MSNBCs and the CNNs and all this stuff, and it's like supposed to be news. It's not news. That's opinion, and that's the opinion of some producer, some person that's selling whatever story they think is sensational, that they can get advertisements, so they can get ratings, and that's what they're doing, so they can make their house payments, so that their kids can continue in their soccer program or whatever the fuck, how the whole thing goes. But it's like, when is it about coming together? When is it about compassion and love? You know what I mean? Like, when is it about unity? Why is that never the agenda? Why is it always about kill that person, cancel that story, kill that song, like destroy this, and it's like, we live in a time now, it's like, stop Asian hate. I did a news thing last year talking about this. So it's like already a year later, we're still dealing with the same things. I'll give one story. I'll give one personal story, and I'm just going to leave it at this. I'm going to give you one personal story, and I'll talk about this too much. One time, Spike Lee called me on the phone, right? I grew up in the same neighborhood as Spike Lee, same neighborhood. We grew up around a lot of racism. My first memories of life was racism. I grew up in an Italian neighborhood around the mob. They hated black people. Like, I saw them chase out black people. One time, Spike Lee called me, use our song for Netflix. She's Got to Have. He invited us to a party, but he invited me to a party, right? So I'm talking to me on the phone. Our lead singer is Black, Shinobi Ninja. So we go to this party, right? And when we go to the door, there's a big black bouncer dude, and there's another black lady. She's the music director, very nice lady. And when I walk up to the door, as I'm a leader by nature, it's just my nature. I walk up to the door and I said, "Hey, we're Shinobi Ninja. We're here, for the party Spike invited us." She says, "Where's your leader?" That's what she said to me. She said, "Where's your leader?" And I had to step back for a second. I said, "Well, I mean, I'm the leader, or she could be the leader." You know what I mean? Like, and so then I didn't really. It took me a minute to absorb that, and I had to understand that it's like, the only reason I was in that party was because our lead singer was a black female, right? And I had to just really just embrace that and understand that. But I didn't take that personal to say, like, oh, this lady's racist against me because I'm white. It wasn't about that. It was just the way that she worded it. I didn't then go, let's cancel her. She's wrong for that, how she disrespected me. Like, I didn't want to cancel her. I just understood that because of her life and how it was, that this was a very selective party, and I was there for a reason, and it wasn't because I was awesome. I was there because I was in a band that was multiracial and the lead singer was black, and that just happened to be the reason why I was there. But I think that same aspect, a lot of people do take that very personal, and they go like, "What do you mean? You're talking about me now." You know what I mean? And it's not about you. It's not about you. It's about how we got to this point. And if you can understand the context of it all, then you don't need to cancel All in the Family, right? You can just understand that this is how people talk during that time, but that's not a personal thing to you now in 2021. That was 1971, and that was 50 years ago, and things have changed. But don't cancel Archie Bunker, because Archie Bunker, ultimately, if you watch the whole show, that guy had the biggest heart. He was so full of love, man. There was one episode where, like, a Mexican lady had a kid in a elevator, if you guys remember this episode, and Archie delivered the baby, right? He delivered the baby, and it was like, this guy has no hate in him. He just didn't get that education. And I think that's the thing about it all. People need to be educated, but not shunned. You don't cancel people because they're misinformed.
I think you said such a great thing about context there. It's so important, understanding the things that we're going through now in context and not just the things of the past. It's really so important. So I hope that people can do a little bit more of that.
Peter, I think you're muted.
Thank you. I was like, oh, that button's not red over there. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, this is a really in-depth. I mean, we can go on in so many different directions on this topic, and it's an important discussion to have. And just as with the world and everything, and like somebody even asked, like, and I don't understand this question exactly, but Somebody was asking, how can one be an artist if not inspired by one's surroundings and current events, whether racist or not? So, Aisha, this kind of takes what you were talking about, but also ties it in with what Dave was bringing up. So, you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, I think some artists are certainly going to be playing off the moment that they're in, and other artists care less about that. Some are very cerebral and some are in a different place with it. That's why it's so important to know, to get really, really close with what you are, what you're about as an artist, and what comes from the core. Because some artists aren't meant for, interacting with the moment. They're not. And also, some artists who go too deep into the moment end up just making propaganda, and it isn't art at all. It loses all the qualities of being truly artistic. So there's a balance to be had, I think.
Right on. All right, so we're going to start wrapping up. And any final thoughts then for the day?
My final thought is intention. Intention is very important. You have to look at out people's intentions. People could say hateful things, but their intentions might not be hateful. Just might be choice of words. And certain words affect certain people in different ways. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Aisha?
I'd say if you know who you are, that's what matters. Knowing you is what's at the core of how you react to any circumstance and not being offended by, things that might come at you. So know yourself.
Right on. All right. Thank you so much. That is going to do it today. We're going to wrap up, and we will be back next week with Monday Kickoff. And you can find us more. We have clubhouse discussions. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on. Musicindustrycity.com is the place to be. Thank you again, Aisha and the Duke. And that's going to be it. So check out musicindustrycity.com for all the music business discussions. We're on Clubhouse. We do live streaming. We do VR. We do all this great stuff. And once again, thanks, my co-host, Aisha and the Duke. See you next time.